Well, what a gripping finale to a stupendous tournament. Welcome to the final IPL Super Over show for Cricket Unfiltered's coverage of this year's tournament. I'm your co-host, Menners. I'm joined by Paul Dennett. Paul, what a roller coaster the last couple of days have been. Floods in Ahmedabad, gripping finishes, fairy tale endings, had it all.
Oh, Ravi Jadeja. Oh, Ravi Jadeja. Have I got a nice voice?
You do, and you said during the Indian Test series that you thought Ravi Jadeja might be the best cricketer on the planet, and I sent you a message after the IPL final. I think you're right.
I didn't quite say that. I said he was the best Indian Test cricketer of all time. So
Right.
slightly different variety, and I stand by that. And we're jumping ahead, but Michael Bevan hit that last ball to win the game for Australia on New Year's Day, 1996. And I can tell by the way that Menners has instantly smiled at that 27 years later, he and I both regard that as a wonderful moment. Well, this is kind of double that and more. So, yeah, there you go.
Were you there that fateful night at the SCG? I can't remember.
No, I was watching it with my grandmother, who had got Channel 4 Wollongong to aid in our family's liking of cricket. I've been in several debates with people in the past who claim to have watched it from Sydney because they thought that it had been shown live in Sydney. But it was one of the last games not to be shown live in Sydney. But the highlights, because it was a rain-affected game, the highlights felt like they were a full show. And I think they showed the last over in full. So some people thought that they'd seen it live. But no, I saw it on Channel 4 Wollongong, proudly. Geez, we certainly haven't gone off on a tangent tonight, have we?
Yeah, I was just to the right of the sight screen where Bevan hit that forward towards. So I had a great view.
You're trying to outdo me. I was actually Roger Harper. I was bowling the ball.
No, it's just, I mean, you brought it up.
Yeah,
you brought the game up. Okay, well, look, Bevan, I held hands with Michael Bevan as he walked off, and
look at your innocent question. Were you at that game, Paul? Just curious question.
Oh yeah. But normally, so many of our cricket experiences align. So I actually genuinely thought you might have been there.
I was pretty close to being there. I was pretty close.
Yeah, it's okay. It's fine. Now, for listeners out there, we've got our final Super Over. So 6 balls to cover the final series of the IPL, 4 games. And then a couple of other balls to wrap it all up. We've got our final Aussie ratings for players we didn't rate last week. And then a few takeaways from the tournament. Also, a very exciting time for Cricket Unfiltered. A few big things coming up. So, obviously, the World Test Championship is imminent. So, Paul and I will be recording a full preview for the India v Australia World Test Championship final this weekend. So, stay tuned for that. And then after the World Test Championship final, the Ashes obviously gets going. So Paul and I, busy week for us. We're catching up with Dan Norcross from the BBC, one of the best ball-by-ball commentators in England. So we'll be previewing the Ashes with him. We're looking like doing that tomorrow night, Wednesday night, local time. So lots of great content coming your way. Very exciting, Paul. Really, it's going to be a big couple of months for the podcast.
It is. It's going to be great. Looking forward to it immensely, such to the point that in my stupidity, I've organised a live podcast recording to clash with the State of Origin. So enough said about that, but it shows my commitment to the Ashes and my commitment to everyone, and also my stupidity.
When you sent through the message of the recording time, I thought, oh, this is really good. He's sacrificing the first half of the State of Origin for this podcast. That's how dedicated he is. Anyway, look, Paul, you've got the ball in hand. You're going to start things off with the qualifier to open the bowling. So the first ball will be the Gujarat Titans v Chennai Super Kings opening match of the final series.
So, yep, this was second versus first, confusingly played at the home ground of second because I think that had been pre-booked. So it was Chennai up against Gujarat. Chennai batted first, and they made 7 for 172 on a sort of a slowish pitch that it was probably, if you just looked at the score in isolation, you'd have said, oh, that's not going to be enough given the way that the IPL has gone this year. But on that pitch, it was actually a fairly handy kind of result. Gaikwad top scored with 60, and it could have all been very different because Gaikwad was actually out off a no ball right at the start when he had barely scored. Now Kunde was the bowler. Gaikwad then hit the next ball for 6, which again emphasizes. I think it's almost to the point where, as if I was coaching a child how to bowl, I would teach them how to not bowl a no ball even before how to keep their arms straight. Like, it's just like I go on and on about it, but yet again, it's just it's unforgivable. But anyway, 7 for 172, and Dhoni didn't quite have the fairy tale finish to Chepauk. He came out and was out straight away just for 1. And you really could hear the crowd go silent. Like, the commentator said it, but it was that kind of you could hear a pin drop kind of cliche. But in reply, Gujarat never really got going. Shubman Gill 42 from 38. And I think that's an example of just how difficult the pitch was. Right at the end, Rashid Khan belted 30 from 16 and gave them a momentary kind of improbable sniff of victory, but it wasn't going to be. I think it's a theme of mine that as well as Gujarat have done this season, it just seems bonkers to me that a bloke with a strike rate of over 200 is batting so far down the order. Had he batted a little bit higher, maybe they would have had a chance of winning. But second defeated first at the home ground of second. So Gujarat had to go into the deeper into the playoffs, and CSK straight through to the finals. And I was just contemplating about the fact that both Menners and the blokes from the cricket podcast seem very fascinated by this whole final series. And again, this whole notion of a second chance and 1 plays 2 and 3 plays 4, and they're talking about it so much. And I realize it's because you guys haven't grown up with rugby league. I know, Menners, you've grown up in a country with rugby league, but you've never been a real fan of it. I've had the opposite experience. When I was growing up, it was just always a final series. And when I've discovered that the rest of the world often doesn't do that, I've realized how crazy it is that you play for 6 or 7 months and then have a little mini tournament at the end for 3 weeks. But that's the way of it. Chennai straight through to the final, and Gujarat got a second chance.
I mean, I'm not that fascinated with the tournament, but I do really like the finals layout. I do really like this format. And that was a big win for Chennai, because up until that point, the 5 previous teams that won that qualifier went on to win the IPL. So big win for them. All right. So ball 2, steaming in from the Randwick end. And well, we're getting into the real hot stuff in the finals, because it's sudden death now from here. So firstly, the Mumbai Indians taking on the Lucknow Super Giants. And Mumbai batted first and made a really nice 182 for 8 off their 20 overs. Cameron Green from Australia followed on his good form from the previous match where he scored 100. He top scored with 41 of 23. And there was good contributions right down the order. Sky Surya Kumar Yadav scored 33 of 20. Tilak Varma scored 26 off 22. Nice finish from Wadera with 23 off 12 at the end. But at the end of the innings, I thought Lucknow bowled well, and they kind of brought back the run rate towards the end. And Mumbai didn't get the finish I thought they were going to get. They looked like they were going to get around 200, but in the end, some good death bowling. Pandya 4 overs, none for 38. Naveen Al-Haq 4 overs, 4 for 38, bowled well. Thakur 4 overs, 3 for 34, and Motion Khan 3 overs, 1 for 24. They all bowled well, and they brought it back. So halfway stage, I thought Lucknow really in this. 182 didn't look out of the reach of being chased down. And then, though, Lucknow collapsed to be all out for 101. And Madwal, who batted okay, but then took 5 for 5 to bowl out Lucknow for 101, a thumping victory for Mumbai. Australian Marcus Stoinis was the top score with 40 not out. But Madwal, that was the best ever figures in an IPL finals match, the best figures of this IPL. And really, it was a stunning collapse from Lucknow. 5 for 5 in 3.3 overs. It's the 32nd 5-wicket haul in IPL cricket, in IPL history, and it's the 5th best IPL figures ever. So it was a stunning performance to do that in a finals game. Champagne stuff from Madwal.
Yes, and for those of you who listened last week, I want to confirm that my tipping of LSG was indeed tongue-in-cheek, as you could clearly tell by the way that I prefaced it with many, many different caveats. I actually forgot to have money on with them, so I hope you didn't follow my tip because I failed to follow my own tip, and I was having a bet each way, which is a bit cheap of me because if they'd won, I'd have been here saying, you heard it here first.
So Lucknow go home. Good tournament, but I think I think the three teams that went further are better than them. So
I agree. All right, so we then move to the second last game of the IPL, having to play against Gujarat. And it was at the home ground of Gujarat in Ahmedabad. And, well, it was a sort of an epoch-making moment, I think, that Shubman Gill, 129 from 60 balls. And it was quite extraordinary how he got to 50 and he got there, in decent time. But then the unleashing of shots, shot after shot after shot, sailing over the boundary, and it really felt like a sort of it may be the moment that lasts most out of this IPL. Let's not go too far about it, but I think there's a feeling of that this could be the next. I mean, we'd all been knowing that there was a big chance of this happening, but it now feels as though this is confirmation of, in that line of sort of, if you go Tendulkar, Kohli, and I know Dhoni's been very popular, but in terms of a great batter, Tendulkar, Kohli, is it Shubman Gill next in line? 3 centuries in 4 innings. What do you reckon, Menace?
well, what stood out to me from that innings was how easy he made it look. Like he's just such a beautiful, gifted timer of the ball. And he is like Kohli, where you can see him, playing this way in all forms of the game. So yeah, you're right. I mean, this was Shubman Gill's coming of age IPL. And I'm fascinated to see how he does really in the 50 over World Cup. I think that's something on home soil he could absolutely go bonkers.
Absolutely. So it was interesting. Mumbai made, at points, they made a reasonably decent effort in chasing what really is a total it should have been beyond them, and it proved to be well beyond them. But Cameron Green scored 30 off 20. Surya Kumar Yadav, 61 from 38. Tilak Varma, 43 from 14. That was an extraordinary little innings. So there was points there where you thought, this is still not likely, but geez, it's no longer absolutely impossible. They're batting themselves into a halfway decent position. But then it all fell away, as it often does when the chase is that much, and you've got to keep on going at that particularly ridiculous level of run rate. For me, it was kind of disappointing that when it was when Surya Kumar Yadav got out, I think. The commentators basically said, and there with him go the hopes of Mumbai Indians, with Tim David still in the sheds. And of course, he came out only got 2.
I knew that triggered you got triggered by them saying that about Tim David.
Well, they were proven right as well. But I mean,
he got the Dennett curse, the Dennett kiss of death this tournament.
Yes. I thought about it. Imagine if he'd gone out there and won it for them. That would have been really cool. Didn't happen though. And he seems sort of a little bit diminished in the last week or two of the IPL. Like, I mean, I don't think that they would have said that as Tim David's kind of coming out to bat at the start of this tournament. They would have still said, "Ooh, with Tim David to go, anything's possible." But there just seems to be he's tapered off a little bit. Am I right, Menace?
Oh, absolutely. I am. I've been thinking about this all week. As soon as you said he should be opening the batting in our test side, he's taken a massive nosedive.
I'd still pick him in the World Cup, and I still say, "Oh, come on, you'd still be mad not to pick him in the World Cup." He's still the first player I'd pick, but he's had a slightly disappointing end to it. Although I think his overall figures aren't too bad. Anyway, they collapsed to be at the end all out for 157. It fell away very quickly at the end, and so yeah, that brought about the final that was the same as the first game between Chennai. What am I talking about? Between Chennai and Gujarat.
Yep. So Mohit Sharma took 5 for 10 in that match for Gujarat, which was the 33rd 5-wicket haul of the IPL. So excellent effort for him.
Sorry, I said the wrong score. I said 150. It was 171. Yes, I forgot to mention that. Mohit Sharma's been the last couple of weeks. He's absolutely dominated, hasn't he?
Very much so. And when we get to the final, we'll see how close he got to winning it. So let's get to the IPL final now. Drama. I mean, this just had it all. So the first day was rained out on Sunday, floods in Ahmedabad, and if you'd seen the images, 100,000 people swimming out of the ground after the game's called off, and all the reports are that people had travelled far and wide to come to the IPL final, and they just hung around until they replayed the game the next day. I mean, it'd be too late to find a hotel or do anything, so that people just waited for the game that was played the night after.
I mean, I love the IPL, and I'm not proud of what I thought, and I'm going to admit it. But that after that first night was washed out, and the fact that was going to then consign Dhoni's side to a very unfortunate second place. Gujarat would have won because they finished on top, but that's fair enough. But they had lost their first semi-final to CSK, and this final, this IPL, if you haven't been watching it, has been just a Dhoni love fest across the country, and fair enough too. But I thought, oh well, maybe with my big bash hat on, and still wishing that the Big Bash wasn't so eclipsed by the IPL, that it's not the worst thing if they have a little bit of a damp squib after such an amazing tournament. Lose,
you were dancing around.
Finals washed out. Dhoni, you didn't get the fairy tale ending, and it's like, I don't know, the cricket gods, and I'm not superstitious, but they just said, okay, we'll show him where the power is in cricket, because then the final that then came about is like, you couldn't have, the cliche is, you really couldn't have scripted it any better.
No, you're like the IPL Grinch, but you didn't win out. So they came back the next night, so Monday, and from an Australian point of view, I guess a really odd thing that there's no Australians involved in either teams. Matt Wade did fantastic spectating for Gujarat on the side, and he's been an A+ bench warmer, but wasn't actually even considered to play. So no Australians, and the magic touch, MS Dhoni won the toss and sent in Gujarat. And I thought CSK was sloppy early on. Gujarat got away quickly. Ridham Saha made 54 off 39. Shubman Gill, the aforementioned Shubman Gill, 39 off 20. And then Sai Sudarsan made a brilliant 96 of 47 deliveries with 8 fours and 6 sixes. Hardik Pandya put the cherry on top with 21 not out of 12 balls. And after a sloppy start from CSK, Gujarat made them pay and galloped to 214 for 4 in their 20 overs. And Paul, I have to say, at this stage, I'm thinking it's going to be really tough to chase in a final.
Absolutely. And pretty impressive that Sudarshan, who was retired out in his last game because he was scoring too slowly, he didn't start all that quickly either. But to come out and end up with a strike rate of over 204, I felt sorry for him when he was plumb LBW right at the end, just missing out on his 100. And look, people are going to say I'm an idiot because Ridham and Saha, 54 from 39, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that innings. But I just can't help again see, although they did promote him, but Rashid Khan got to face 2 balls right at the end. He holed out for a duck, trying to hit a 6. But it's madcap. But if they'd opened the innings with Rashid Khan, they would have won the IPL.
You heard it here first. That's the front page of the paper.
That's but what everyone's talking about.
Sudarsan, I mean, you talk about his acceleration. I think he scored 60 off his last 20 deliveries. There was one shot that was just jaw-dropping. I thought someone had spiked my drink because he's a left-hander. Ball's coming across him, and he moves across to the offside to try and flick it over the leg side for 6. But the bowler bowls basically a no ball on the offside because the ball didn't even pitch on the wicket, basically. And Sudarsan, as he tries to flick it, it went off the back of his bat for 6 over third man. It was just incredible.
Yeah, but it was just luck. I mean, it wasn't like a good shot.
No. It was just incredible to watch. I mean,
okay. But Harsha Bogo, the way he talked about it, it was like, it was though it was deliberate. It was just, it was just a snick through over the slips for 6.
Yeah. But he did it with conviction. But he's a player to watch. His first class average is 47.66. His list A 50 over average is 60.36, and his T20 average is just under 40. So keep an eye out for this guy. That was the third highest score in an IPL final. Our man Shane Watson has the highest score, 117 not out for CSK. And that 214 was the highest team score in a final. Right. So CSK comes out, they're chasing 215. I think they face an over, and then it just starts bucketing down, and the covers come out, and there is a long, long break. 2-3 hours they're off.
Did they break their own playing conditions in terms of, did they reach the time when it was time to call it a hold and they just went, nah, we're going to keep going?
No, I don't know the rules that closely, Paul. I think there was something because they'd played so much of the game. Like, I think that, they wouldn't have started that late, the match, but because they'd already played the first innings. So
I think there's a playing condition. If Dhoni is going to be disadvantaged,
yes,
then all the above is cancelled.
Exactly. So eventually the target is 171 from 15 overs. Duckworth, Lewis, Stern, Paul's best friends, they come into play.
Spot on. That's exactly what it should have been as well. The right target.
Yep, absolutely. And, it was a gripping chase. Gaikwad, 26 off 16. Devon Conway, a beautiful 47 off 25. He really set the pace for CSK, got them off to a great start. And I had a bit of a moment. Josh Little playing for Gujarat. He started the summer at Coogee Oval with one Menners commentating on him playing before the World Cup. And he ends the summer. He ends in the IPL final. I mean, what a journey for Josh Little. Anyway, then Doobie comes out at 3. Oh, you must have been going nuts watching Doobie bat. He could not hit it off the square. He was absolutely hopeless. He was 13 off 12 deliveries. So you need 12, 13 and over, and he's going at barely just over a run a ball. So he actually, at that point, Gujarat started to surge back into the game. Raidu came out in his last ever game, searching for his 6th IPL title, and smashed 19 off 8 deliveries after a Rahane cameo of 27 off 13. So the old stages were doing it, but Doobie at the other end was dragging the chain. I was saying, why don't you retire this guy out?
Yeah. I think at the point where they might have considered retiring him, that's when he did just hit a couple of sixes and sort of gave himself a stay of execution. But you're right, a runner ball for the first 13 is just not good enough. From an Australian point of view, I'm a little bit worried about Rahane. In his prime, he wasn't much short of Kohli in my estimation of someone that I thought, we are really going to struggle against him. And now in the form that he's in, and he's forced his way back into the Indian Test side, I think he could be quite a force in the World Test Championship final.
Definitely. All right. So you're right. So at one point, the equation was CSK needed 50 off 20 deliveries. And this was the end of the 12th over. Doobie on strike. And he goes bang, bang, 6-6. Over. Raidu's on strike the next over, beginning of the 13th. He goes 6-4-6. And then he gets out. But the equation went from 50 off 20 to 22 off 15, like that. Now,
and they had it won. They had it won.
And then, this is what, this is like great script writers. MS Dhoni comes out to bat and just needs to knock it around. He can be there when CSK wins their 5th title. He can be carried off. He can hit the winning runs. Dhoni can hit the winning runs. Go first ball, he's on strike. Oh, I'm thinking, what's he going to do? He flick this. Are we going to see the helicopter? We're going to see the Dhoni helicopter. Bang. Hits it straight to cover. Caught. First ball. Golden duck in the IPL final. And you can tell, wow, CSK were getting nervous. Doobie was getting nervous. Doobie then couldn't hit the ball very well. And all of a sudden, Gujarat started. Mohit Sharma bowling. He bowls 3 overs from one end to close it out. And he just hits the Yorker. It's like the 80s, 90s World Series cricket. Just get the Yorker up there. And it goes down to the last. So go on.
No, I was going to say, you're right. It was down to the last over. They needed 13. And then he started that over with those Yorkers. Again, not to be tangential, but you might remember. Actually, this will be a test of your knowledge, Menas. I want to see if you remember this. There was a game where Australia South Africa, a one-day game, might have been in South Africa, and Steve Waugh played a pretty good innings to get Australia to a chance off the final over, and Farney bowled basically like a maiden to him or something, like 5 Yorkers that in 1990s era batting were unplayable. These days they would have danced away and or ramped them or done something, but there could be nothing done then. It reminded me a little bit of that. Do you remember that one?
No.
Good honesty. Good honesty.
And then last over, Moa Charm's got the ball, 13 needed. The first 4 balls, every ball's a Yorker, and there's 3 singles. It was 10 needed off 2.
All over.
But Jadeja's on strike, and you can tell the commentators are starting to build up to a Gujarat win. And I thought there was a really nice moment. There was a bit of they stopped the game with 2 balls to go. And Hardik Pandya, the Gujarat skipper, is just trying to G up his team. And he's smiling and really positive. He's thinking 10 off 2, we got this. Let's be positive. And then Mohit Sharma bowls a pretty decent ball. It wasn't actually in the slot. If you look at it in replay, it was not quite a Yorker, but very close. But Jadeja just digs it out and hits it down the ground for 6. Unbelievable. 4 off 1.
And I don't think the commentators even realised he hit it that well. I think Ian Bishop in commentary for a second was, and he suddenly was, oh, that's gone for 6, and he amped it up 1,000% and went berserk. But I think for a second he thought that was just sort of looping up down a few meters short of the rope. So, yep, and it came down to 4 off the last ball.
Now, just wheeling back a bit. So this game started 3 days ago. Started on Sunday, rained out. Started on Monday night. It's now 1:35 a.m. on Tuesday morning. 1 ball to go. Culmination of this gripping tournament. Mohit Sharma, can he be the hero? Can Jadeja be the hero? Sharma comes in and bowls a bit of a pie, outside leg stump, full toss. Jadeja just flicks it to fine leg. No one patrolling the boundary. 4 runs to Jadeja. CSK fans go nuts. CSK team runs on. The whole time, Dhoni's sitting there with his eyes closed.
Yeah.
Couldn't watch that last ball. And I don't even think he knew who won for a while. I think he was waiting to hear who won before he opened his eyes.
It's a hard one because the raw would be ambiguous, wouldn't it? Because it was going to be a raw no matter what happened off that final ball.
Yeah.
And it was the one shocking ball that Sharma bowled. 5 balls, as you say, the second last ball, he was probably unlucky to get hit for 6. That last ball, leg stump, full toss, was the one bad ball he bowled in and over that began with them needing to defend 13 and got it down to 10 off 2. So he almost did it. But it was an exhilarating moment. But at the very end, when the players are running everywhere and Dhoni had won, it was pretty special.
It was incredible. So CSK win their 5th title. They join Mumbai as 5-time winners. Raidu, the retiring CSK player, won his 6th IPL, joining Rohit Sharma, who has 6. And look, and then the qualifier, the team that won the qualifier has now won 6 IPLs in a row. So, we talk a lot in the league stage about how important it is to finish in 1st and 2nd spot and try and get into the final quickly. Well, that's played out in the last 6 IPLs. But then Hardik Pandya, the losing Gujarat skipper, had some very nice words at the end. He said, "I'm very happy for him, Dhoni. Destiny had this written for him. If I had to lose, I don't mind losing to him." Very gracious. It was a final played in terrific spirit. I think Dhoni's captaincy was exceptional. And just to give you an idea of how rare it is for a tournament to go down to this, there have only been 2 previous instances of a team chasing 4 or more runs on the last ball of a T20 final to win. India did it against Bangladesh in 2018, and Shahrukh Khan did it in the Karnataka League.
Karnataka.
Anyway,
Karnataka.
so Karnataka. So very rare for a tournament to end in such dramatic fashion.
And a couple of other things just on Dhoni. One was he may have won them the game despite getting a golden duck. His stumping of Shubman Gill was
Oh, so
pivotal
good.
because Gill was looking good. He'd raced to about 40 odd
Yep.
off not many. And it was one of those classic Dhoni stumpings where his hands were so fast. He took it so quickly. It was almost that he took it in front of the stumps and it would have been a no ball. But of course he hadn't. He timed it perfectly. The sort of stumping that another keeper might not have affected. And he was a bit ambiguous in his comments after the game. He may well go around for another year. It'd be hard to top this final, but geez, it'd also be hard to say, I want to give this up. And I mean, it's not like it's taxing him all that much. He comes out to bat usually in the 19th over, faces about 4 balls, hits 2 or 3 sixes, and then swans off. So, I mean, he could play for another 5 years if he wanted to.
Yeah, I think mentally he looked pretty taxed there when he had the eyes closed for that last ball.
True.
He played it very cool, though. He said that maybe he'll come back next year and do it for the fans to give back. Although it's hard and he's getting old, because he was so well received this tournament and so well loved, he'll do it for them. I don't know. I think it'd be very tempting to go out a winner. Very, very tempting.
Yeah, of course. I sometimes feel like they should be able to say, look, everyone wants you to come back. And if you do come back and have a poor ending, we're just going to make that illegal to talk about. We're going to say, this is your fairy tale ending. And whenever you do end, we're going to refer back to this as the end. We're going to just slot it back in at the end. So just in case. So you got to get out of jail.
It's like Ricky Ponting, the last 2 years of Ricky Ponting's career. Maybe we can
didn't happen. Yeah.
pick that 100 at the SCG against India as his last match.
Yeah, he retired then. He's finished with a test average of 60.
Yeah, brilliant. All right, so 4 balls done, 4 finals done. CSK the winner. We've got 2 balls left. What do we got?
We're gonna do we have to take a break at some point?
Oh yeah, we better take a break. Good
All right.
Good thinking, 99. All right, so let's take a break and then we'll be back with our last 2 deliveries. All right, welcome back. Well, you're listening to the IPL Super Over. It's our final episode of the IPL season. I'm Menas. I'm with Paul Dennett. We've got heaps of Ashes and World Test Championship final content coming in the next couple of weeks. But Paul, ball 5 of the Super Over. What do you got?
All right. Well, time for some talk about the Aussies. So last week we talked about the Australians who had played for the 6 teams that were eliminated. Although we forgot to talk about Nathan Ellis from the Punjab Kings, so we'll include him this week.
He was watching. He commented in the last video that we forgot him. So he's desperate for this rating.
All right, so let's give it to him. So we'll start with Nathan Ellis. He had an economy rate of 8.9. He took 13 wickets and a strike rate of 17.5. If we're giving these letter grades, look, I think,
despite your reservations about that system, we'll continue.
I suppose that's kind of if a side went at 8.92 the entire time, they'd be getting somewhere in the 170s, which for this tournament is probably even slightly below par. So although it sounds ridiculous to say that 8.92 runs per over is okay, I think I'll give him a B.
Yeah, I was very close. I'm giving him a B minus.
Very good. Well, we're very similar there. And I still think that he's definitely someone that the Australians should have. And I know that he is in the calculations, but I think he should strongly be in the calculations for our 50 over World Cup. Next up, Cameron Green from the Mumbai Indians had an average of 50.2 at a strike rate of 160, and he scored 452 runs. And with the ball, economy rate of 9.5, took only the 6 wickets at a strike rate of 38. So I'd say with the ball, a little bit disappointing, but with the bat, really, really impressive. I think I'll give him an A.
Okay. Look, it's tough, but I'm going to give him a B plus. I thought the bowling was obviously where the marks got knocked off. Probably needs to really work on his white ball bowling, and it's unfair. He's an all rounder, but that's the way the system is. That's why
It
the
is
cookie
true.
crumbles.
Yep.
Can't
No
beat
one's
bad
forcing
luck.
him to bowl. No one's
And they,
forcing him to bowl.
no, and they did, Mumbai did spend, almost like $1 gazillion on him. So
Yeah, so I think they wouldn't be disappointed. I think they'd be feeling like they
no,
got a pretty decent return on their investment. Jason Berendorf, 14 wickets at a strike rate of 9.2. Sorry, at an economy rate of 9.2, a strike rate of 18. A little bit on the disappointing side there. I'll probably give him a C plus. What about you?
yeah, interesting. I like the way he bowled. He did well for them. I'm giving him a B, solid B. Good opening bowler. B.
All right, big bad Marcus Stoinis averaging 31, a strike rate of 150, 408 runs, and with the ball, economy rate of 9.2, taking just the 5 wickets there, strike rate of 13. I think I will give him a B plus.
I'm giving the Stoin a flat A. I thought he was one of the shining lights from this Lucknow team. A bit of a rock in that middle order. So excellent performance from the Stoin. A for me.
No, you're probably right. I've been a bit harsh to the B plus. I'll bump him to an A minus. All right. Next up after Stoinis, Riley Meredith, and he took 7 wickets, economy rate of 10.5, and a strike rate of 16.8. I think an economy rate of 10.5 is pretty disappointing. Didn't play that many games. Those 7 wickets, that's a fairly good return, a strike rate of 16.8. But I think overall, I into C minus territory there for me.
Wow, generous. I'm giving him a D because I just don't think you would want to play him next year. Like, I think if you're Mumbai, you'd be thinking we can give this spot to someone else.
I agree. Oh, definitely. I mean, I think that's one of the problems with the T20 format, that really fast bowlers like that, especially the Indian grounds, that they're just, top edges go for 6, and he's an exciting bowler, but he's not someone that I would ever be picking in my T20 side personally. All right, Tim David didn't bowl, so I mean, the fact that they didn't give him a bowl, already he's going to get an A plus just because of lack of opportunity. All right, with the bat. Average of 25.7 and a strike rate of 158, scored 231 runs. I mean, it was a disappointing campaign for him, but those figures are still pretty good. I think that if you could say to someone, you're going to get a batter who's going to get 25 runs at a strike rate of 158, there's a lot to like about that. I think I'll give him a B plus.
That is bullshit. I'm giving. You didn't even score a half century.
So what's that got to do with it?
Well, I mean, 15 innings, didn't get past 50. Oh, I was thinking like D, but you've given me a B plus. I'm going to stick D plus. D plus. D plus.
Come on, mate. You're just doing that to bait me.
He didn't even pass 50.
No, but
230, 230 runs.
Maybe he got 49 10 times. The fact that he didn't pass 50 in and of itself isn't the way to 25. Go. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. His average 26 was his average, and a strike rate of 158. Those are reasonably decent numbers.
Yeah, but Green, Warner, Maxwell, Stoinis, they all average more than him with the bat.
Yeah, I don't know that Warner did that much better. Warner averaged a little bit more with a much lower strike rate. I accept it was a disappointing tournament from him, but I still think that to give him a D plus is, I don't think that's your true mark.
I think it is. Really is.
All right. That's it. They're the Aussies.
Yeah. All right. Well, 5 balls done. Last ball of the tournament. Wow. Menace with the ball in hand. And I have to say, I don't often do this, but I actually at one point just thought, what would it be like to be that bowler and batter for that last ball of the IPL final? Like, you and I both play cricket. I was nervous enough, like batting, at the local park with nothing on the line. Like, can you imagine, like, the IPL coming down to this one ball, and you've got the ball in hand, you've got to deliver, or you Jadeja with the stick in hand? It's pretty impressive performance.
Absolutely. Although the one thing I'd still say is I would still find that less nerve wracking than having to bat in a test match, where at least there you can back away with impunity and have a slash and no one's going to care. If I had to in a test match right now, give me that in front of that pressure cooker at an environment, and just have one big swing and you either succeed or don't. Versus coming out to face Mitchell Starc in a test match when he's got 6 balls at me to put me in hospital. I'll take the IPL.
Anyway, my dreams aside, 6 ball, just a chance really to reflect on the IPL. There's been lots of great memories from the tournament, and I sort of sat back and thought, what has really made an impression on me? The first thing was the longevity of Faf du Plessis. Every time I think he's getting old, he's probably going too long. He keeps proving me wrong. It was a fantastic tournament. And yeah, just incredible to see him still performing at close to 40. We mentioned Shubman Gill before. His 890 runs in the tournament were the second highest aggregate for anyone behind Virat Kohli's 973 in 2016. So that's unforgettable.
I've got a segue there just very quickly.
Yes.
He's also scored 890 test runs, so exactly the same number, at an average of 34. And that's the one I was listening to Robert Craddock talking to Jared Waitley, and he was saying that he thinks that he's still got a question mark out against him at test level, whether he can, nick off a little bit too easily. So it's going to be very fascinating to watch him in his test career as it develops in the coming years.
Definitely. Also, the rise of the Pathirana from Sri Lanka. Obviously, a slinging action bowling for CSK. I thought he made a real impression on anyone that watched him. Josh Butler's 5 ducks. Won't forget that. Just nice to see a Pommy fail. The rise of Cam Green for an Australian over here, that was pretty special to see him really take big strides in the IPL, and it's pretty incredible. Any memories for you, Paul?
I think the main one is Shubman Gill and Cameron Green. Green's arm, okay, I forgot to mention that he actually had to retire hurt in his final game, came back on, but I presume he's okay. Haven't heard anything further. I just think for me, my overarching memory is confirmation of, for all that we sometimes are a little bit lukewarm about it, given that it's at midnight over here and it's a little bit hard to follow, it is a spectacular tournament, and cricket should be very thankful for its existence, even though we're a little bit nervous as to how the test match scene is going to play out down the line. But I think the ultimate proof is that if you took, I remember years ago going to a one day at the SCG where Australia got plenty, Adam Gilchrist got a lot, and there was an Australian family in front of us who must have had an American exchange student, and she sat there the whole time, and they asked her afterwards, and she said, I was impressed, I was just bored. And she wasn't being rude about it. It was just, and I thought, yeah, I enjoyed it, but it was 8 hours, and I could see there were long periods of just singles. I reckon you take a random American to the IPL and they would think it's amazing. And I think that's the sort of my overarching memory, that it was a tournament that had so many close finishes, so many big hits, so many narratives, so many stories. It was thoroughly enjoyable to witness. I do wish that they would change the times and start at maybe 8 hours earlier, but that's not going to happen. But
just for us.
Yeah. Thoroughly enjoyable and a massive success. And I'm sure it's the biggest IPL of all time.
Well, we need to be over there for the next IPL. And you're right, there's so many epic finishes. I mean, Rinku's 5 sixes in the last over to win a classic for KKR. The missed man cat off the final ball in that match. Obviously, Jadeja doing it in the final. I mean, it really had everything. I think just sort of things I sort of took away tactically. Of the 74 matches, 40 were won by the team batting first, 33 by the team batting second, and there was one rain out. And I think the impact player rule they've brought in has really sort of nullified that advantage that the team batting second had for a little while. Do you think it's moved it too far one way, or
no? I think they should. I think they should immediately adopt the impact player into international T20 cricket and international 50 over cricket, because it's refreshing to see that the batting side, the side batting first, winning, when so often in those conditions the dew plays such an impact that that sometimes it was you win the toss and bowl and you win the game, and so it's really good to see that that's changed.
Absolutely. And I still stick to the fact that I like the 6 hour power play at the beginning. I don't like what Australia have done where it's 4-2. I think it works better as that 6 over spectacle to start an innings. And yeah, just quality cricket.
I mean, I agree with you, and I'll echo the point I've always made about it as well. I think on Australian grounds, having a total of only 6 overs of power play in the innings is not enough, and that they should just get the best of both worlds, restore the 6 over power play at the beginning, and keep the 2 over surge. And when the bowlers say, "Oh, we're just cannon fodder," yeah, you are. Deal with it.
Yes, and it actually makes a big difference because what you see happen is a batter gets on a roll in that 6 overs. They might take an over or so to get going, but then when it's 4 overs, oh, that's end. Anyway, been through that before. Just one last final closing point. Now, everyone talks about the expansion of franchise leagues around the world. I don't understand. Why don't you just have 2 IPLs in India per year? Don't make the IPL bigger, so don't go more rounds, but just have 2 IPLs a year. One, one at the beginning of the year, one at the end.
Yeah, it just feels that it would be too much, even for India. Like even people in India who love it, I think that they would get to the point where they'd say it's. And I know that's a slightly artificial, a slightly erroneous point to make, given that most sporting leagues around the world go for far much longer than the IPL. So I don't know. I mean, I just still think it would be just too much, and the damage it would do to international cricket as well would be significant. Because if you meant then that, okay, South Africa, sorry, we're taking the extra equivalent IPL that you've had there, you can't have that anymore because we're going to have another one in the second half of the year. Well, what's going to happen? That South Africa is going to try to shoehorn another one in somewhere else. It's just, I don't know. I hope it never happens, and I don't think it would be the right thing to do, even from a selfish commercial point of view. I think that would be killing the golden goose a little bit.
All right. Well, I just thought I'd throw it out there. Obviously, you're right. The schedule is the biggest breaker on that. But I mean, I think the appetite is there for something, whether it's a mini IPL. Anyway, that's my reflections on what has been an incredible IPL 2023. MS Dhoni walks off into the sunset with another cup on his shoulders. Magic stuff.
What a champion. What a champion. Thanks, Benners. It's been fun.
Well, thanks everybody for listening to the IPL Super Over shows throughout the tournament. As I said, we've got lots of great stuff coming up. Dan Norcross from the BBC next, then a preview of the World Test Championship final. Also got a great interview with Mike Whitney coming up, former Australian quick. So an excellent story about Sachin Tendulkar there. And if you haven't gone back and listened to it, I interviewed Phil Jakes, former Australian opener. That's on the podcast feed. So that's a special Menners masterclass. So it's all happening. I'm Menners. You can find me at @Menners on Twitter. Paul, what do you want to tell the listeners about yourself?
Paul.Dennett on TikTok, and look up Cricket Unfiltered on TikTok as well.
All right, guys. We'll be back soon. Thanks, everybody, for listening.